So Deebo Samuel was asked about the Eagles and 49ers' crazy new rivalry, and yet he got so mad during the phone interview, he hung up and walked away. You're not going to want to miss this. I'm Thomas Mott. This is the Thomas Mott Show. What's up, guys? Thomas Mott here. Welcome to the Thomas Mott Show on a Tuesday. Deebo Samuel continues to double down on the idea the 49ers were better than the Eagles last year, but also get really upset when asked about that doubling down. It's the most hilarious thing in the entire world that he continues to do. Listen to this exchange on the Zach Gelb Show, CBS Sports Radio, when being asked about the whole Eagles and 49ers back and forth that's been going on since we crushed them in the NFC title game.
Deebo Samuel here with us. Well, something that is your call. I saw what you said about the Eagles back at the Super Bowl at Sirius, where if Brock Purdy didn't get hurt, you guys would have won that game by double digits. Why would that have been the case?
I don't know. That's old.
So do you not still believe that?
I mean, I do, but I mean, we're not. That shit is like we're not gonna keep talking about it. I mean, I said what I said.
Gotcha. So then, what happens this year when you play Philly on December 3rd?
I don't know. Just wait till week 13, 12, whatever week it is, and we'll show you.
Well, then you know how that's gonna go down. You're going into Philadelphia. Those fans are gonna be booing you loud. You have a message for Eagles fans?
Hey, guys.
Yeah?
All right, we're good to go.
He's like doubling down, but he also is hesitant to double down. He's also really upset that continuing to be talking about it, and it's just amazing that he would hang up the phone and walk away. Maybe just having a bad day. I'm not going to, rip Deebo Samuel for doing that, but it is funny when you say something like, we were way better. If we would have had a quarterback, we would have won by double digits. We're going to get them in week 13, and then people go, Deebo, that's a bold claim. Your guys' defense got waxed, and you don't play defense. Now that does your quarterback. What do you mean by that? And then you get upset about it. It just has it's not a good look. It's not a good look. Now, week 13 is a very long time away, especially when it started the regular season. It's not happening for a couple of months, but still, that is a heavily circled game in both the Philadelphia and 49er fan quarters because this whole rivalry has started blossoming. I mean, this feels like the second biggest rival to the Eagles right now besides the Dallas Cowboys, who are number one always by default. I feel more strongly about the 49ers than I do the Giants and the Washington Commanders, and both of those teams are in our divisions just due to the fact that they couldn't lose with grace. They couldn't lose admirably and say, hey, you know what? Maybe if we would have had a quarterback, we could have at least kept it close, but our defense got waxed by Jalen Hurts in that offense. Wouldn't have made a big difference. But no, they can't say that. So Deebo continues to dig himself a grave, and his only way out is to crush the Eagles in Philadelphia in week 13 in December. It's the only way. If they lose week 13 in December and both teams have their quarterbacks and are mostly healthy, because they'll make more excuses if they're unhealthy, then Deebo's going to really have to eat his own words, and I bet he'll walk out of that press conference as well. Over here to a very interesting list by Justin Jefferson. He was asked to reveal the top 5 quarterbacks in the National Football League, and honestly, he did a really good job. I mean, people are all over him for not putting Kirk Cousins inside his top 5, but this is a pretty darn good list, right? Mahomes 1, Aaron Rodgers 2, Joe Burrow 3, Jalen Hurts 4, and Josh Allen 5. Now, you can argue the Aaron Rodgers side of things, but a lot of people would tell you if healthy and actually with a pretty decent football team like the Jets this year, Aaron Rodgers could be back into the top 3 of best quarterbacks in the National Football League. I've said before, Joe Burrow being there at number 3 over Jalen Hurts doesn't affect me. Joe Burrow has a little bit stronger of a resume, at least so far. Now, if Hurts balls out this year, that can change. And I would put Jalen Hurts above Josh Allen due to the fact Josh Allen turned the football over too many times this past year and hasn't made it past, or gotten to a Super Bowl. So this list is totally fine. People are going to rip him because his list didn't include Kirk Cousins, which, what do you want him to say? You want him to lie and say Kirk Cousins is a top 5 quarterback? Well, then all of us would go, Justin Jefferson, you're crazy. He's not a top 5 quarterback. What are you talking about? That's the dumbest take ever. Or do you want to be truthful and say what all of us totally agree, and that is that Kirk Cousins is not a top 5 quarterback, but you could still say Kirk is a top 10 quarterback, top 12 quarterback, and you'd be right and you'd be honest. Kirk hasn't done anything in the postseason to warrant being where any of these other quarterbacks are. Mahomes has won a Super Bowl, Rodgers won a Super Bowl, Burrow and Jalen Hurts have been to one. Josh Allen clearly has proven to be an elite quarterback in the National Football League, and so, Kirk is getting ripped here up and down, and people are saying Justin Jefferson should back his quarterback up, but he's just being honest. Those are the top 5 quarterbacks in the league, and where Jalen Hurts is situated, as long as it's in the top 5, it's fine by me. As long as it's ahead of guys like Dak Prescott, especially, it's fine by me as well. Do you have a top 5 quarterback ranking in the National Football League? If you do, let me know what that is. Go down below in the comment section and give me your thoughts right now. Okay, over here to a crazy, interesting list, I would say, by NBC Sports. This was done by Chris Sims, which we, of course, know what we feel about Chris Sims, but he actually does a pretty good job giving you the top 6 best Eagle players of the 21st century, not including quarterbacks. Now, this is heavily controversial and obviously could go many different ways, but let's be real. This is a pretty good list. Again, minus quarterbacks. Dawkins, obviously on there. Fletcher Cox, obviously on there. Lane Johnson, Jason Kelsey, obviously on there. Jason Peters and LeSean McCoy are going to be your two kind of hot takes there, but at the same time, he's kind of right. I mean, Shady McCoy, at the hint of his prime, was absolutely incredible in an Eagles uniform. Jason Peters was as well. I think we kind of get focused in on the latter part of Jason Peters' career where he was injured a lot, but the early parts of that left tackle, the bodyguard, he was absolutely unbelievable. Who's he missing here? I'm trying to think back to who he could be missing, because Brian Westbrook is obviously, a name that you could throw in there as being one of the better running backs, and while he has a more historical Eagles career, I don't think he was as good at the peak of LeSean McCoy, and the argument can go back and forth here. Deshaun Jackson, would you add him in? It felt like that was kind of a short-lived career, and you didn't get the full, Eagle career here. Most of these guys, minus LeSean McCoy, were basically career Eagles. I know B-Doc in the end and Peters in the end went ahead and went on to different football teams, but they're viewed as Eagles, whereas Deshaun Jackson played all over the National Football League. And so while you look at a list like this, I think it's pretty darn good. I can't seem to find any more flaws with it than what you guys can find. I mean, Asante Samuel's another name you could throw on this list, but Asante Samuel didn't play in Philadelphia long enough. You could go Trey Thomas and John Runyon, but we'd all take Lane Johnson, Jason Kelsey over those guys as well, right? I mean, come on. Jason Kelsey and Lane Johnson are the two best Eagle offensive linemen of all time. Overall, this list is pretty good. Unless I'm blanking on somebody or I'm missing somebody and my head is not thinking of it, you guys can graciously go down below and remind me, jog my memory in the comments section. But that seems to be a very, very good list for the best players of the 21st century. And honestly, I think for once, we got to give Chris Sims a little bit of credit because this is a pretty darn good overall list. All-time ever today on this edition of the Thomas Mott Show. Obviously, we're getting into really the heat of the offseason, with the heat being 2 more weeks. We are exactly 2 weeks away from Philadelphia Eagles training camp. So really, as you look at it, today's the 11th. It starts on the 25th. That makes it 14 days and 2 weeks away from the Eagles reporting for training camp and getting ready to go. Now, training camp will start a little bit slow. I try to remind people of that as we get closer and closer to that day. There's not going to be some crazy breaking news on the 25th, 26th, 27th. You're going to see a couple of non-padded practices, some walkthroughs, some conditioning work to get things going. But once they put those pads on, it's going to get very, very interesting and really crazy to see exactly what the Philadelphia Eagles look like, according to people who are actually up there at the NovaCare complex, and who emerges as kind of that either undrafted guy, late round guy, year 3 backup guy as the star of training camp. Because every single year in Philadelphia, there are some quote-unquote stars who in the end outperform their expectations and end up making either starting roles or getting close to starting roles. Think Reed Blankenship last year. Blankenship was somebody who we didn't talk about a lot going into training camp. He blossomed well, and by the middle of the season, he was one of the starters and started on the Super Bowl team, which is unbelievable. So there will be that person, and we're going to try to find him, uncover him, give you guys all the latest and greatest offseason, but really training camp news and rumors here regarding the National Football League and also the Philadelphia Eagles on the Thomas Mott Show. So if you appreciate that, thumbs up, be sure to subscribe. Also be sure to check out any of the shorts that we've dropped. We're dropping a bunch of shorts every single day, trying to here on the show, give you guys a lot of ways to consume. I'm Thomas Mott, chilling out on a Tuesday. This has been the Thomas Mott Show.